session really comes at the right time because from the first panel we had Frank mentioning how Rwanda has managed to position itself. We also had Honorable Minister Nelly mentioning it. We are going to be diving deeper into a session that will look at what today's brand seek in sports partnerships. We'll be looking at from impact measurements to also brand storytelling. We'll explore how rights holders can deliver values to sponsors while also building long-term community-driven partnership. And once again, with a lot of enthusiasm, help me as we welcome our panelists and our moderator. Help me welcome Sheja Valier, the Chief Strategy and Communications Officer at the Rwanda Development Board. There he is. You're welcome. You're welcome, Sheja. We have Reda Laraichi, VP Business Development and Strategy, Rainbow Wild Group. You're welcome. Very good to have you. And our final panelist is Kyle Schofield, Managing Director, QA Venue Solutions. Let's also welcome him with a warm round of applause as he comes. And the moderator for this session is Daniel Nock, the Managing Director, Hamilton Barker. You're welcome. Yes. Let's give him a warm round of applause as he also comes. Daniel, over to you.
Hello, good afternoon. Honourable Ministers, heads of international and national organisations, esteemed partners, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. Mwiriwe. Good afternoon. Fumbled that pronunciation, it's a great start. Across Africa, sports sponsorships is no longer just about visibility. From Visit Rwanda on Premier League jerseys in the UK to telecoms companies powering global football leagues and fintechs backing basketball tournaments, brands are seeking much more than logo placement. They want impact, they want community connection, they want stories that resonate. The big question is, how do we break that down? What exactly are they looking for? And how can rights holders deliver partnerships that are authentic, measurable, and long-term? And to explore that, I'm joined by three brilliant voices in the African sports visit business. Sheja Valier, Chief Strategy and Communications Officer at the Rwanda Development Board. Would you like to introduce yourself and give us a short background?
Thank you all. So my name is Sheja Valier, as you mentioned. I'm Chief of Strategy and Communications Officer at Rwanda Development Board. And this is for my introduction. I just want to thank Christian today to organize this beautiful event. Thank you. It's a really good initiative. We appreciate it. So what I can say, if I have to start answering the question, we're going to have a lot of things to talk about because we cannot take, for me, the example of Visit Rwanda, if you want to establish the same thing here in the continent, is totally different. So we should maybe think about the way that we can have the same achievements in the continent. This is my point.
Many thanks, and a very good point. And I'd like to introduce Reda Laraichi, the Executive Vice President at Rainbow Wild Group. Reda.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. And thanks for the invitation, Christian. Really pleased to be here. I just want to say that Dan has also his place in this panel because he can speak really great about this topic. So I'm glad that he's moderating it. So yeah, I'm Vice President of Rainbow World Group. We are an American multi-club ownership group. So we own football clubs all over the world, and we have 3 clubs in Africa and more to come. So I'm really pleased to be here as the second Moroccan to be present because Mr. Lakari is here. So I'm really pleased that you invited the representative of the Ministry of Sports due to also all the events that are going in Africa, in Morocco right now, which is quite the same also in Rwanda that are doing really great stuff. So thanks for the invitation.
Thank you, Reda. And finally, Kyle Schofield, who's Managing Director of QA Venue Solutions, who operates, among many other things, the fantastic arena facility that we have here in Kigali. Kyle.
Great, thank you. I think I'd get in trouble if I don't thank Christian. Huh? So thank you, Christian, for hosting. This is amazing. I think for us as individuals who are in the sport and entertainment space, to have a really specific purpose on sports and hosting a conference around it is extremely important, because we need to drive the narrative, and we need to drive the narrative outside of just being recreation into being actual business. And that's what we all put our efforts into. I think from our side, as a quick introduction, our focus is on the infrastructure. As someone who's been in the sports space my entire life, I've participated in sports and I've continued to work in the sports space. One thing that always came out, especially on the continent, is just making sure that the infrastructure, the platform for all of this to happen is working at the highest level and is competing from a standards perspective. And so our business is really focused on just achieving that. And I mean, Daniel just mentioned it now with the BK Arena. I have to give it to the team that we've done a great job on being able to sustain that standard. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, but it's a showcase, and it's something that I'm hoping, in these engagements, we continue to influence countries across the continent in operating spaces at the highest level, so that our athletes can perform the best they can.
And thank you to the panel. I've been told we have to wrap up in about 25 minutes. We are a smaller panel, so I'm hoping we can keep this relatively conversational. We're all friends here. Before we kick off, can I just get a show of hands? How many people in the room represent brands who are either engaged in sports sponsorship or have engaged in sports sponsorship in the past? Are there any brand representatives here? There's a few. And how about rights holders who are engaged in selling and promoting assets to brands or organizations that might want to sponsor? Okay, that's interesting. So, Shejo, if you'll forgive me, in contrast to your opening statement, I would like to talk a little bit about nation branding and how sponsorship enables that. Now, as the architect of the Visit Rwanda brand globally, clearly what most people see outside of Rwanda are Visit Rwanda logos on the shirt sleeves of Arsenal, PSG, Bayern Munich, top flight clubs on the global football scene. What is it that sponsorship of Arsenal gives you that you cannot achieve through simple out-of-home campaigns or broadcast advertising in those countries where Arsenal or PSG or Bayern are watched on television?
Thank you for the question. So actually, the difference that we can have here sometimes, you see, when you go to that country abroad in UK, France, they can have their own visitors from the country. That means you do not have to showcase yourself outside of the country, because your people can fulfill that needs to make people travel around the country. So the idea was after achieving everything, after building the infrastructure, stadium here, the convention center, establish all of the road to make everything smooth, establish the safe framework for people to travel and visit in the best way. Now it was time for us to showcase ourselves, and be partner with Arsenal at the first in 2018 was the first step for us to just exist in the eyes of people abroad. And this is actually what brought to us is just being able to say that we know who we are, we know what we want to achieve, and we need people from abroad to understand our message. And being partner with Visit Rwanda with Arsenal actually was the best way to do it, because actually what is the most seen sports in the world is soccer, football. And that's how you use that leverage just to get more visibility in what our country achieves and what our country want to be in the next X years. And that was actually what led us to this. And when I introduced myself saying that we have to think another way when we do it here in Africa, is because it's easy for us to just say that the people you are talking about have the middle income needs are necessary to just being able to travel here and take the plane, to pay the hotels, accommodation and everything. There is a cost. And that cost For now, we know that people in UK, in France with Paris Saint-Germain, in Spain with Atletico de Madrid, just by seeing our branding on the jersey, if they're willing just to come and travel, there is nothing that can stop them. They can just come, take the plane and come easily. When we think about doing the same here, sometimes in Africa, we have to think in another way because we talk about with people that sometimes doesn't have like the same amount of income monthly. It's totally different. So from Visit Rwanda to abroad in these main markets, the message is clear. We talk to you because you know that you can come and afford what you have to offer. Now when we talk about like doing the same sometimes in another place, here around with our country in Africa, we know that even if we spread the word to million people, we won't have the same percentage of people able to visit as we want. This is the difference.
And look, clearly the partnerships are a success. I read recently that after 1 year of sponsorship of Arsenal Football Club, 50% of surveyed fans said they were more likely to visit Rwanda. So clearly there's something working in that partnership, and clearly there's something working in the way that you're approaching it.
Yeah, it's working. And I won't go like in the numbers, but we can say that since we started the partnership with Arsenal, it was in 2018, so 7 years ago. We just doubled the income in tourism in these 7 years. We hosted if you talk about convention and conference and MICE hosting events, we were nowhere 7 or 8 years ago, and now we are we're ranking second on the country who hosts events in Africa. So there is an achievement. Actually, you can see that there is results behind that. But for this result, it didn't come only by saying that we want to host events. There was something before. Building, leadership, vision, and everything that brought that to us.
Yeah. Timing was important. And Kyle, from your perspective, how important is it that Visit Rwanda is out there on the global stage, as Sheja has just mentioned, not just engaging in a branding exercise, but actually backing it up with real infrastructure and real experience when people choose to visit Rwanda, but also, of course, marketing itself effectively to sports federations globally. I mean, how important is that campaign for you as a venue operator?
Yeah, it's vitally important. I think when we look at it, yes, we focus on the infrastructure, but we take a holistic view on the entire ecosystem. And what are the ultimate triggers that help you, sort of unlock sponsorship opportunities, eventing opportunities? And I think it's safe to say, the job that the team from Visit Rwanda have done has been phenomenal, because today we still sit with, and I always say this because I've got a lot of pride for it, but we still sit with the highest naming right deal in Africa, and that's because we were able to sit in front of the client and showcase events at the highest level that are coming into the building. But not only that, we've unlocked pouring rights in the buildings. All of our VIP suites are taken. There's a lot of contractual revenue that consistently comes into the building because we leverage all of the work that the team from Visit Rwanda has done in order to unlock further value from the infrastructure that's in place. And I think again, going back to the point of this as a holistic view, and Sheja mentioned it in the beginning, the government has actively built the ecosystem across all the infrastructure. And so that component of content coming through the infrastructure is what then unlocks all the value. And I think this is a mistake we see a lot of the time across the continent, is that there's a build of infrastructure, but there's no active participation from a programming perspective to catalyze your market, right? And it's once you catalyze that you start getting the interest from globally to a point where people are engaging with the country outside of the efforts that are being done from Visit Rwanda. And that's a testament to the effects of putting your country out there and saying we are ready for you to come in and participate. There's a business environment, there's an opportunity to make money, and that's what we've been able to showcase. The next 5 years, I honestly believe, I know we got a target of doubling the tourism revenues. I think that's a very easy target, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you alluded to your naming rights deal with Bank of Kigali, which is in many ways similar to Visit Rwanda's presence on the global stage. It's a landmark deal and was a landmark deal at the time. It's a multi-million-dollar, multi-year agreement with Bank of Kigali, and obviously, as you've mentioned, that was unlocked through Visit Rwanda support and their willingness to be out there on the global stage to unlock those rights for you. But can you tell me what you were able, and getting into the weeds of it now, as a rights holder, what were you able to unlock for Bank of Kigali as a partner that, again, they wouldn't have got as just a sponsor of an individual event within the arena, for instance?
Yeah, look, I think for us, we try our best to move away from this word of sponsorship, because it sort of categorizes the conversation, and a lot of the times that category is sponsorship results in either people in the venue and your branding showcased around the venue and the box is ticked, right? But that doesn't really unlock true value. And so we take the approach of saying invest into the business, right? You're taking your money and you're investing it into an opportunity on being able to see a return, right? And that then puts the responsibility on our side as the venue or the operators of the infrastructure to then showcase the return. And I think that conversation very rarely happens, where you're almost holding yourself accountable and saying, I'm willing to take your money on the basis of providing a return. And we see this all over the financial sector. It's not a phenomenon that people don't know. It's very common. It's just we tend to, as I mentioned, categorize sponsorship in a way that results in very low sponsorship value. And so for us, when we look at it, we say to ourselves, how do we ensure that this deal is reciprocal? And we take a deep dive into the brand, and we understand what does the brand do and how can the brand benefit from this. And I think for us with the bank, it was a very easy integration, because we deal with people and so does the bank. Our businesses are really built on people. And how can we take every aspect of the bank and integrate it into our building, right? From our transaction points, across food and beverage, across ticketing, across the insurance of the building, everything. And so we were able to justify to the bank that there's a return, not only from a viewing perspective and a media value perspective, but there's actually a revenue component that can come back. And the minute you can articulate that, it then shows a different value of your rights deal, right? Because media value, let's all be honest, we can go and do all the studies and get all the reports, and you showcasing $500 million worth of return. Where they do the calculations,
we've all seen those reports.
Exactly. But what it comes down to is, what is that revenue component? What is that actual tangible engagement? Which then takes you onto the component of brand affinity. And this for me is stuck with me throughout my entire life, is brand affinity is the most important thing, because what you do with taking a brand and putting it at the forefront is you're basically taking it and putting it at the front of human beings. And it's an opportunity for that human being to engage with your brand. And so at that point, how you position your brand, how you articulate what your brand does, the experience of your brand is what builds the brand affinity. And that goes beyond any sale game. If someone loves a brand, they are going to engage with your brand no matter what. And that return will give you $500 million.
Yeah, and Raider, could you pick up on that? Because I think, in general, fans smell inauthenticity a mile off, right? And it sounds like what Kyle and the QA Venue Solutions team have been able to do is build that authenticity, in part by really understanding who the audience is and putting human connection and putting humans at the center of what is a commercial deal. We can't get away from that. But can you talk a little bit about, because you've experienced the sponsorship landscape on both sides of the aisle, both as a rights holder, in terms of someone who sold rights in the past. Can you talk about the importance of authenticity and the importance of how brands and rights holders or organizations and right holders measure the value of sponsorship to make the whole thing work as an industry? Yes, sorry, for Raider, yeah.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I think this is really key components. I mean, authenticity right now is something that people are looking for after. But I would like first to mention one thing, that countries like Rwanda, Morocco are organizing really top international events right now. But we have to think as well about other events that would attract also other sponsors. It's like more smaller events. For instance, Rainbow World Group, except in investing in football, we're investing in Nigeria. We own a Dembe League, which is a traditional martial arts. It's a small sport, but it's in an area. It's in an arena that is really natural, without any specific like building. But loads of sponsors are coming. Why? Because it attracts public. You have this authenticity that you're speaking about, Dan. People are coming to, it's like if they're going to touch the athletes that are just like 5 meters from them. And since you have this authenticity, you have this lot of mass people that are coming to those type of events, that's exactly what sponsors are looking for. You're selling their image, you are bringing clients, potential clients, and giving authenticity, and also, of course, showcasing local sports. Yeah, I mean, if if you're gonna organize, so that's why I think that in the audience we might have like students or also people that would like to invest in sports. So it's really important to not just focus on organizing just top events. You guys, each one of you, can organize an event. We have to bear in mind the authenticity of Africa of having 30,000 kilometers of sea coast. With the sea, we could do extraordinary stuff. I've seen a company in Senegal that is doing aqua gym in the sea for people that have deficiencies or have issues with their legs. So it's natural resource that you can surf on and propose. You have other sports, like you have also Nigeria. You have fantastic league of flag football, which is derivative of American football. They are attracting lots of sponsors because of what? Because those guys who are playing flag football are highly passionate flag football players. So again, the authenticity is there. You have all the traditional sports that you have to bear in mind. In Morocco, we have a sport called Fantasia, which is a sport where people are riding horses, and we have to coordinate our shots in the air at the same time, and it attracts mass people. Again, when you attract mass people, you attract mass sponsors. So my point is, you don't have to focus only on organizing big events. Of course, it's something really important for the countries. It's the one that brings money and value to the country. But think also about other sports. And Africa is full of sports that you can't even imagine. So yeah, definitely authenticity is the key word for attracting sponsors.
And in that vein, Sheju, we've talked a little bit about obviously sponsorship of infrastructure. We've talked about sponsorship of teams and sponsorship of sports as a whole. But can you talk a little bit to Rwanda's strategy as it relates to sponsorship of individuals and the fostering of new sports and the support of talent that a Visit Rwanda or even the wider RDB might give to individual athletes, and how important that is from a growth perspective as we talk about increasing tourism and growth in the sports economy within the country?
So when you talk about the partnership or sponsorship, what leads us to a choice? It's always like the authority that the one you partner with have on this audience, on his audience. So let's say when you talk with Arsenal or any other club, we know that they have an authority on their fans. So the fans are just following sometimes, or just like thinking that because Arsenal is doing it, I can trust it. So you just follow that lead, actually, that trend. And you can even do the same when you want to be partner with an individual. So at what point this individual could influence the willing of the fans. And actually, this is what should lead us every time when you want to choose a partner. It's always about like the authority. Currently, we do not have like this strategy at Visit Rwanda, saying that we would like to be partner with an individual for now. It's not like what you want to establish for the next years, I don't know, but we want to stay focused on the club because I think like in the club, it's even bigger. Even if when an individual talk to the other one, is kind of like he has like this aura that people just like follow him because it's an individual talking. But in a team, we can have like mini stars. Let's say Paris Saint-Germain. 2 years ago, we have Mbappe, Messi, Neymar, all of them in the same team. So by just being partner with Paris Saint-Germain, we know that you're gonna talk to the fans of all of them actually. So it's working better if you go this way.
Right, you can actually build that into the sponsorship of these high-level assets like clubs because it provides access to players, for instance, who have even by themselves have become media brands in their own right in lots of cases. It's an interesting perspective on, and I think obviously your outcomes and what you measure will be very different from what a Bank of Kigali measures, for instance. I just want to kind of go across the panel and put you in a position where you wake up tomorrow and all logos and all branding and all billboards have disappeared from the world. In your experience of engaging in partnerships, whether that's as a rights holder or as an acquirer of rights, what is the one thing out of the agreements that you currently have that you would keep and you think has the most impact for fans? And I'll come to, Sheja, if you like to.
So the question is like, if there is no billboard on the street anymore,
no logos, no billboards,
no logos,
no
no
branding.
LEDs, nothing. You are alone. That means you are all on the same level. We can just start from scratch.
All on the same
So
level.
it's gonna be a win for sure. It's gonna be a win because as long as we have like we start the game together and at the same level, then just like the best will just like. And at that moment, I think we are on the good way to win it again because it's obvious that with the time that we spend to promote ourselves abroad, people now know us as a destination that you can just visit with many different, I don't know, like assets. Like when you come here, you know that it's safe. You know that you cannot find this. You know that you can. There is a urban life. There is a wildlife. There is a lot of things that you can find here, and there is safety. So at the end now, with the time that we showcased ourselves outside, if we say that from now, no one else can do or can promote itself, and you just keep the thing like it is now, I think we are going to do well.
I'm more talking about in terms of specifics of some of your agreements with, let's say, Arsenal or PSG, for instance. Is there something in there that isn't related to brand exposure in the sense of, not putting a logo on a shirt, but in terms of something that is intangible and something, but also something that provides great impact? What is the one thing that you would keep from those agreements that you currently have that's had outsized impact that isn't a logo on a shirt?
I think at the end, Rwanda will stay Rwanda. So even if we do not have access and we don't showcase ourselves, we can just be proud of what we achieved ourselves here in Rwanda. So I think just Rwandans actually are really proud to live in Rwanda. We can see that most of the African countries are really happy to see a country who can achieve everything in 31 years only, and like raising from like the worst to the best in these years. So at the end, we can just be proud of what we achieved. And if we can still have people who come and visit, they are obviously welcome. But first of all, just be proud of us because we did a really great job.
And Raider, if you'd like to kind of answer the same thing, is there something that you've seen that has outsized impact that isn't necessarily branding or putting a logo on something? What have you come across that you've felt has been really innovative in terms of the way sponsorship has been activated? And are you seeing new trends emerge that across the sponsorship landscape that result in outsized impact compared to where we were perhaps 20 years ago, which was very logo-centric?
Yeah, well, right now sponsors are, as you say, it's not any more logos that are enough for them. We need to give them metrics after that. We need to give them data, which is something really critical today. As a matter of fact, I've been exchanging with Red Bull Group. I asked them a question. I told them, why Red Bull is present. Speaking just about the football group, why Red Bull Football Group is present in all the continents except Africa. His answer was simple. He told me reliability. He told me that unfortunately they can't find reliable data, they can't find reliable people to handle the football. He was transparent with me. So I think that there is a big effort from us to do this way, because we can't stick just to, because today in most of football clubs in Africa, sponsors are coming just because they are our friends. So because this is the president's friend, he's coming and sponsoring the club. He doesn't even think about the ROI behind his sponsorship. And of course, this is where the infrastructure plays his role. The infrastructure also helps in selling great products and great branding for the sponsors. We've been noticing in the BAL in Morocco recently, they've organized such an event that the football clubs were amazed. They say, how comes basketball is doing this and football, which is, I would say, the most common sport in Morocco, are not even able to do that? And it's not something difficult, just playing with lights, creating some shows. I mean, that's something that is between our hands. And this way, you are valorizing the infrastructure, you are valorizing the sports and the sponsor. That's what they are aiming for. So, I mean, it's a mixture of a lot of actors that should come together. And as you were mentioning during the policy panel, it's lots of ministries that have to come together and do that, and a lot of education to be made. And I will finish with that. With this, Daniel. It's an anecdote about our group. Our CEO, he's based in Houston, and our African headquarters is based in Cameroon, in Douala. So he came one day. He told to the team, all right, and the team is really an old staff that he knows them a long time. Meeting at 9. We came there at 8:55, and the other staff came only at 9:10, 10 past 9. The boss left. Why? Because, I mean, people sometimes are just like in their comfort zone and never like really distracted. So it's part of the education that we need also ourselves to get into. The timeline. We have to respect deadlines. We have to respect all the documentation that needs to be. And I know that Dan is doing a great event in Africa, trying to organize the Baller League in Africa, and I've seen the documentation, which is quite tough. And so people need to respect all the points that are asked for. So it's between our hands.
Thank you. And before we come to you, Carl, I'm just going to have a quick look at Tupo to see if we have time for questions after this, or one or two. Yes? Okay, Carl. Think about all of the partnerships that exist within the assets that you run and operate. What have you seen that's either new or innovative that has outside impact and isn't necessarily a logo placed somewhere around the building?
Yeah, brilliant. I have to start with saying I love the question because from a personal standpoint, and I hope this doesn't chase away anyone, but I'd wish we'd do away with this component of just putting brands everywhere. It honestly just changes the dynamic, and I spoke about it earlier around the value creation. If I think through it, there's actually one event, and I struggle to say it sometimes. The easiest word, but I struggle, is the Wimbledon, right? If anyone goes and watches that, I won't say the word again. If anyone goes to watch the tennis, you'll see that the brand integration is down to almost 0%. Even some of the biggest brands, Rolex, have got no exposure. They keep it to a minimum. And what it's all focused on, and what we also just focus our time and energy on, is experiences. And I think if we could keep in every agreement that we had, if we had one thing to keep in that, would be the experience component. Because at the end of the day, whatever you do as a brand, if that experience is bad, you're not going to get your return. If the experience is good, we all know what happens. And I think being able to take brands away from the conversation forces for creative thinking, and it forces brands to really think about their product. You can all go design a great logo, but if you can't put it out there, how do you get your brand in front of someone's face from an experience component to then ask the question, who is this? Because someone who is asking and sees your brand will never forget it. But someone who is not asking and has your brand in front of their face that has a bad experience is going to forget it immediately, right? And so for me, experience is something that take all my agreements, everything, change it, but just leave experience and I'll be happy.
Very interesting. Really, really amazing insight there. And I want to open it up to the floor very quickly. We haven't got a huge amount of time, so if anyone has a question, please raise your hand and we'll get you a microphone. Please, if you may keep your questions reasonably brief, and panelists, if you keep your answers equally concise, we'll get through a couple. Yes, the gentleman in the blue shirt here, please. And please do introduce yourself before you ask your question. Thank you.
Yeah, hi. My name is Hugo Obi. I run a mobile games development studio. My question is around how you measure and track the ROI. So obviously, I think most of you run physical events, not digital events. So, like what kind of metrics do your brand partners look for? And then how do you track and present that?
That's a good question. And I think you're talking specifically about event sponsorship. Raider, would you like to, you've had experience of event sponsorship, working with ministries, country marketing. Can you give us some insight into that?
Yeah, well, depending, of course, on the nature of the event, but some metrics are just something sometimes really clear. Sometimes we don't even know in Africa, I'm speaking not in other countries, we don't even know about the attendance number. We have to be clear that one ticket sold is one place, which is not the case here in some African countries. When you buy a ticket, it's not with the number. You can't even sometimes sit on that number. So I think first, one thing that is important also in terms of metrics, we don't have to go too deep in the metrics that are happening in Arsenal, or we have to adapt ourselves to the reality of the situation in Africa. So point one is attendance. Point two is how many VIP lounges you have and how were they? I mean, how many people were inside? How many VIP lounges did you sell? You can say also about the metrics of people that consumed. How many people and what kind of catering are you proposing? Again, you have the jerseys. Again, if you have a local shop in the stadium, how many jerseys you have been able to sell during the event? Again, you have the metrics related to media to try to see how many people viewed the football game or the basketball game or whatever. So you have millions of metrics that you can consider, depending again on the sponsor, what he's aiming for, depending on the sport. So yeah, I mean, if you want, we can have an exchange privately, and we can be really long in listing all the metrics that could be developed for such type of events.
Sheja, so you're nodding there along with a lot of that. Is there something that you want to add into that in terms of how things are measured? And obviously your experience is wider than just Rwanda Development Board in respect to sponsorships.
So I was saying before, like we have we just doubled the number of the income of tourism here in Rwanda in the last 7-8 years. So this is the first way to measure the impact that we have with the partnership. Also the fact that now we have ranked second in the host of event in Africa. It's also a way to evaluate the quality of the partnership. So now when it's time to talk about the return on investment, I will just make it different, because for me, return on investment, we should more think about the money that comes, that the visibility. So the visibility, today, we have a lot of tools to just establish the number of views that you have on the website, on Instagram. Even the club's partner give us all of the data that we need to evaluate what was the best month. Did we get a visibility in this specific week? So we have all of the tools exist already. So this is actually today not even an issue because it comes with the partnership. So we do not let them just give us the access to the LEDs without like being sure that we're gonna have what is needed to evaluate the quality of the partnership. Because actually, this is even like how we renew it for another term. If you do not know exactly what you achieved with the partnership, there is no reason for us like to keep moving forward with the partners. So this is actually exactly what you are doing now. So that specific part, I cannot give you all of the tools that we use, but we have that internally to be able like to evaluate the quality of the partnership first. So now what you have to evaluate as well is like, how can we be sure that we have like the amounts or the money that we would like to get every year? Actually, this is actually the part sometimes is hard to evaluate because this is easy to evaluate, but now how many dollars did we get through the partnership? Sometimes it's hard to manage. And this is why like but I think it's like even like the reason is when you talk about B2C, business to consumer, and we talk about tourism, knowing that the people who came here came because we are partnered with the club, I think no one could even say it once. It's really hard to manage. Is that why now sometimes you just think about like, how can you make it B2B, business to business? Because business to business is really easy because you interact directly to people, you talk to them directly, and then you can even say that through like the interaction that we have with him, he came, he visits, he invests that amount, and then it's really easy to catch or to track the amount that you get through the partnership. So the B2B is right now the vision that you're going to use in the future, because this is actually what brings a lot of money. If you compare, let's say, someone coming, it's a big amount already, yeah, but someone coming for Goiás at $1,500, taking a plane, accommodation and everything, it's about a ticket of $5,000 per people, which is a lot of amount. But imagine now someone who invites in the box, we talk about investment here, and he came after a few months and he said, okay, I would like to invest $5 million. This is really what we want to achieve now. So this is how we're going to track the return on investment. Instead of thinking about the B2C, we are obviously welcome to visit, but how can we make them invest? Because that is real money and big money.
Clearly, this is a conversation that could go on and on. I would like to carry on. We do have to wrap up. It is lunchtime. I think on behalf of the panel, it's incumbent on me to say a big thank you to the SportsBiz team, Christian and Rwanda Events, and the team behind the scenes for giving us all a platform and facilitating this conversation. Honourable ministers, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a big round of applause to our panel: Serge Valliere, Chief Strategy and Communications Officer, RDB, Ray Delarici, Executive Vice President at Rainbow World Group, and Carl Schofield from QA Venue Solutions. Thank you very much.